Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Straight from the motion picture screen into your radio. The Story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lew-ayres and Lionel-Barrymore, as it was originally broadcast on January 19th, 1951, and the story of Dr. Conklin. Hopefully it's not a relation to Osgood Conklin, but this guy's Quack.
The Story of Dr. Kildare.
Whatsoever house I enter, there will I go for the benefit of the sick. Or whatsoever things I see or hear concerning the life of men, I will keep silence thereon, counting such things to be held as sacred trusts. I will exercise my art solely.
The Story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lew-ayres and Lionel-Barrymore. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer brought you those famous motion pictures. Now this exciting, heartwarming series is heard on radio. Now, the Story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lew-ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel-Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Blair General Hospital, one of the great citadels of American medicine. Clump of gray-white buildings planted deep in the heart of New York, the nerve center of medical progress, where great minds and skilled hands wage man's everlasting battle against death and disease. Blair General Hospital, where life begins, where life ends, where life goes on.
Will that be all, Dr. Gillespie? Did you want to take a blood sample?
No. That's all as far as I'm concerned, Miss Werner. Oh, any further examination, Jimmy?
No, I think we can handle the rest of it easier at the hospital. Mrs. Brady, you understand you're to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning for x-rays.
Yes, Dr. Kildare, 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something, Dr. Gillespie. Is it real bad?
Well, now...
Mrs. Brady, you're expecting a diagnosis before we've even completed our examination.
I feel so funny.
Well, we'll make some x-rays in the morning, maybe some other tests, and then we'll know a lot more about it.
It's been bothering me off and on for a year now, but it got worse about 4 months ago.
Really? But this is the first time you've been to the clinic?
Well, I went to see Dr. Conlon for a while.
Conlon? I don't know any Dr. Conlon, Jimmy.
Oh, he's got a real nice office in the Brunswick building.
Huh?
You know, he's the one that advertises all the time. He has that machine, whatever it's called.
Machine?
Oh, you remember, Dr. Gillespie, I showed you one of his ads a few weeks ago. He uses what I think he calls an electroradonic diagnostiscope.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. Mm. And what did Dr. Conlon say was wrong with you, Mrs. Brady?
Well, it's real complicated, Dr. Gillespie. It's something about the electricity. It's in my joints and my liver when it ought to be out in my fingertips.
Oh, to be sure, yeah.
Machine doesn't seem to help me much, but he said if I'd keep on, it'd just happen overnight. That's how it works.
Just like magic, huh?
He had all kinds of letters from people he's cured. I went to him regular until I couldn't afford it anymore.
By the tarnation. Jimmy,
Yeah, I know. You can go now if you like, Mrs. Brady.
All right, Dr. Kildare.
We'll see you in the morning at the hospital.
Thank you, Dr. Gillespie. Goodbye, nurse.
Goodbye, Mrs. Brady.
Tarnation.
I know a nurse is not supposed to offer a diagnosis, but, well, it was pretty obvious, wasn't it?
Not much doubt about it, Miss Werner.
Doesn't have a chance in 1,000.
Oh, confound it, Jimmy. Cancer can be cured. Why don't they come to us in the beginning?
In this case, you know why she didn't. Dr. Conlon and his electroradonic diagnostiscope.
Electricity in her joints.
Oh, she went to him until her savings ran out. Great. And she's not the only victim. I've seen others come into this clinic before, victims either of him or 100 other fakes just like him. Dr. Gillespie, that man ought to be stopped.
Yeah, he ought to be smashed.
And furthermore, he's going to be stopped.
Oh.
I don't know how, but I think we could do it.
Oh, confounded Jimmy, I don't see any reason for all this falderall.
Be quiet now. I'm trying to listen to your heart.
Well, there's nothing wrong with my heart. Never has been.
Shh, quiet now.
By the tarnation, if I'd known that I was letting myself in for this, Jimmy, I...
Well, my dear Dr. G, you were right. Your heart's perfect.
Ah, of course it's perfect.
Diana, along with the blood pressure and pulse rate, note, general valve action, excellent. Evidence of myocardial deterioration, none.
Right, Jimmy.
3 complete physical examinations in one day by 3 different doctors. I feel like the prize bull at the county fair.
Well, in order to make this stick, we've got to document it completely right from the start.
Well, Bertolli and Mace are pretty good authorities, They're only 2 of the best internists in the country.
Next to you, of course.
Oh, well, I was going to say that.
Oh, I knew you were. Well, personally, I didn't expect to find something that Dr. Mace or Dr. Bertolli missed in their examination this morning, but after all, I've known you, worked beside you for years, and that gives my diagnosis a different kind of authenticity. Oh, Diana, you can file my diagnosis report along with the other 2 now.
Yes, Jimmy.
And keep everything in the same file, x-rays, cardiogram, basal metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, anybody think I was going into training to fight this Dr. Conlon?
You may have to before we're through.
Now, wouldn't that be something? Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, gorgeous Gillespie.
That's
No.
Miss Berner.
Wearing baby blue satin trunks, ballet slippers, and good afternoon, Dr. Carew.
Well, Dr. Gillespie, what in heaven's name is wrong with you?
Nothing is wrong with me,
But
Carew.
someone informed me that you've been examined today by 2 different consultants. Are you ill?
I am not. And anyway, it's none of your business.
Please.
Dr. Gillespie's merely getting ready for an ordeal, Dr. Carew.
An ordeal?
Yes, in fact, I haven't yet told him the full extent of it. His name now is Mr. Gillis, and he's going to be my father.
Your what?
My father.
Oh, well, now, Jimmy, isn't it several years too late for me to embark on that particular career?
Oh, not at all. Why, it's never too late, Pop.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Gillis. You've certainly brought your father to the right place. We'll have him on his feet in no time at all.
Well, I'm on my feet now, Dr. Conlon.
Oh, yes. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
You see, Dad's been having this trouble for nearly a year, but I couldn't get him to go to a doctor. He has the idea they're all quacks.
And with good reason, Mr. Gillis. I recognized your father as a man of keen intelligence the minute he walked in here. And a successful businessman, too, I'll venture.
Oh, not bad, not bad.
Well, Dad's retired now. Sold his chain of grocery stores last year.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Gentlemen, you may not believe it, but the average medical doctor is a quack.
You don't say.
Modern civilization has progressed to inconceivable heights, while medicine has stood still. Why? Because the average doctor is blind. He refuses to make use of the greatest scientific discovery of this century.
Oh? What's that?
Electronics. Huh. Mr. Gillis, I presume you've heard of my electroradonic diagnostiscope?
Oh, yes. That's the part of your ad that attracted us. I don't know much about electricity, but it sounds fantastic.
Oh, I can assure you that if some of the miracles of healing I've seen take place in this office had been performed in a time gone by, I'd have been burned at the stake.
Ah, the good old days.
Well, Dr. Conlon, Dad's trouble seems to center around his chest, with pain sometimes in his left arm.
Oh, no symptoms, please, Mr. Gillis. The machine takes care of all that. Pain in the left arm. Gentlemen, suppose we step into the electronics laboratory. This way.
Well, now, that's quite an elaborate gadget.
Gadget? Mr. Gillis, you're standing before one of the most complex mechanisms known to modern science. Sit here, please.
It looks like the electric chair.
Oh, no danger at all. The intranuclear magnetic flux is completely compensated by the spectrum balance of the... Well, I suppose that's all Greek to you.
Impressive, though.
Now, just let me adjust these high-potential diatomic electrodes.
Gee, all those dials, control knobs, tubes, coils, it's amazing.
Oh, believe me, every one of them has a purpose. Now, just relax, Mr. Gillis. You won't feel a thing.
Good luck, Dad.
So that's it.
What's it?
The protonic balance of gamma waves indicates a strong deviation in the vicinity of the heart.
You mean it's heart trouble?
Precisely.
Well, go on then. Twist a couple of knobs and cure it.
Oh, I'm afraid it's not that simple. The machine is only set now for diagnosis. You notice I'm recording the readings of all these dials. I'll have to spend several hours computing your health vibration factor. That's why the treatments are somewhat expensive.
How expensive, Dr. Conlon?
$50 apiece.
$50 apiece?
Well, after all, Mr. Gillis, your health is an important thing.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Dr. Conlon. Now, how many treatments will be necessary, do you think?
That varies. Well, that's all, Mr. Gillis. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll start you down that happy road to joyous health.
Well, that's very generous of you.
Not at all, not at all. The greatest pleasure in life, gentlemen, comes from helping to alleviate human suffering. You can go out this door.
Do I pay you, Dr. Conlon?
No hurry at all, Mr. Gillis. Tomorrow will be fine. Good day, gentlemen.
Bye, Dr. Conlon, and thank you.
By the tarnation. Of all the phony swindles, that takes the cake.
Yeah, probably a highly effective act, though, with somebody who doesn't know better.
Trouble of all things.
I was hoping he'd pick that. That's why I mentioned the pain in the left arm. By the way, Dr. Gillespie, did you by any chance notice that spot on the back of his hand?
Yes, I did. And apparently you got the same idea I did.
I wonder if he's used that machine on himself.
Well, I don't know, Jimmy, but he certainly ought to.
I tell you, gentlemen, when I heard about it, I simply sat down and blanched. I really did. I blanched.
All right, Carew, we heard you. You blanched. Who told you about it?
Why, Miss Park? Let's just say Little Bird told me.
You mean a big, long-nosed buzzard named Parker?
Oh, dear.
Well, even though you've heard what we're planning, Dr. Carew, I don't understand why you're so upset about it.
I am more than upset, Dr. Kildare. I'm utterly prostrated. By the very idea of dragging the name of Blair Hospital into a sensational newspaper story. Why, it's unthinkable.
Well, it's the best way I know of putting this Dr. Conlon out of business. Oh, sure, there are legal angles to stop him, but there are also loopholes. But when this story is printed, he can't dodge the publicity.
Publicity? Oh, I shudder to think of it.
And we'll get publicity, plenty of it, with 3 top diagnosticians in the country involved in it. Dr. Gillespie, Dr. Bertoli, and Dr. Mason, with the name of Blair Hospital featured.
Dr. Kildare, I absolutely forbid you to go on with this scheme.
Dr. Carew, there's a Mrs. Brady upstairs in this hospital waiting to undergo surgery next week. It's very doubtful that the operation is going to help her. 4 months ago, it would have.
I fail to see just what Mrs. Brady has to do with this.
4 months ago, Mrs. Brady was being swindled by Dr. Conlon's so-called diagnostiscope. And she only came to us after it was too late. She's not the only victim, nor is Conlon the only crook.
Very well, Dr. Kildare. But it's simply not our responsibility.
Well, I feel it's my responsibility.
Now, just a minute.
Carew, shut up.
Dr. Gillespie.
Jimmy and I are going ahead with this whether you like it or not.
Oh?
But I'll tell you what we'll do.
Yes?
We'll include a paragraph in the article stating that you were opposed to the idea.
Oh, well, in that case, Oh, good heavens, no. Why, it would ruin me. Oh, dear.
You know, there's another interesting angle in this that we haven't followed up yet. Although he doesn't know it, Conlon has a well-advanced sarcoma. Unless he's treated very soon by a legitimate doctor, he won't live a year.
We return to the story of Dr. Kildare in just a moment.
January 19th, 1951, the story of Dr. Kildare on Classic Radio Theater. Classic Radio Theater family, you know our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by just creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, because, you know, I'm working like 67 hours a day. Now, Mike's offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets ever. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. You'll never want to sleep on anything else once you slept on a set of Giza Dream sheets. A special offer for you right now. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. Call 1-800-928-4715. Use the promo code Wyatt. Or go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Wyatt. It's good on anything on the website. That number again, 1-800-928-4715. Use my promo code Wyatt. Classic radio theater on your favorite station. Interestingly, the Story of Dr. Kildare was produced by MGM, the people who produced the movies. They purchased WHN Radio in New York City, converted it to WMGM, and did a lot of shows to help boost sales of their, not only their movies, but, movie tickets, but also to sell these shows. And that's what they did. They sold them for a period of time to Mutual as well. Okay, here's January 19th, 1951, the Story of Dr. Kildare on Classic Radio Theater.
Now we continue with the Story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lew-ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel-Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
You know something, Jimmy?
What, sweetie?
You're a rat.
Oh, and I was hoping you wouldn't find out. Well, tell me, is it something specific or just a rat in general?
It's very specific, and if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
Now, what could I have done?
Good morning, Dr. Gillespie.
Morning, Miss Verna. Morning. Jimmy?
How's your heart this morning, Daddy?
Well, not too bad, Sonny. Except for a few stray electromagnoprotons in the right ventricle.
What?
Our Mr. Gillis is beginning to emerge from the dark ages of medicine, that's all.
Oh, that Dr. Conlon racket.
Right.
How's the plan working out?
Okay so far. Daddy and I have another appointment with him at 10 this morning. We sat up last night until after midnight working on the newspaper release.
I know. That's what I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. Well, I'd better get to work.
Now, wait a minute. What do you mean?
Jimmy, we had a date last night.
Holy mackerel, I forgot all about it.
Yes, I know. See you later.
I never thought I'd see the day when a son of mine would treat such a beautiful girl with such a lack of consideration.
Oh, do you know, I forgot it completely. I guess I'm really in the doghouse now.
I doubt that, Jimmy. I think Diana has enough understanding to put up with your little eccentricities.
Eccentricities? Look who's talking.
Well, yeah, I can get away with it, on the grounds of senility.
I see.
I'm referred to as a grand old man by these idiots around here. Speaking of idiots.
Good morning, Doc.
Sir? Wayman, what are you doing in here? You're supposed to be downstairs.
Yeah, I know. But as long as I may win $60, I took the chance.
$60? How?
Well, everybody around the hospital is saying that if Dr. Conlon finds out that you're a doctor, you follow me, Dr. Kildare?
I guess so.
Yeah, well, they're betting if he finds out, then Dr. Conlon will use that the machine to electrocute Dr. Gillespie.
By the great horn spoon.
I'm betting he won't.
Oh, well, anyway, it proves your loyalty to Dr. Gillespie.
Oh, loyalty's got nothing to do with it. I'm getting 3-to-1 odds.
Just sit back now and relax, Mr. Gillis. Let the healing, life-giving alpha-protonic miracle rays flow through your autonomic nervous system.
Yes, indeed. At $50 a flow.
But the reward, Mr. Gillis, freedom from sickness, abundance of energy, a 100% joy in living. What do a few pennies matter?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Dr. Conlon. Money isn't everything. But are you entirely certain there's no danger in this treatment?
Yeah, I'd hate to have my autonomic nervous system blow out a fuse.
Oh, there's not a thing to worry about, gentlemen. Everything is compensated, and I computed the setting very carefully. You see, right now, the machine is removing the inductive microfarad excess from the heart and distributing it between the thyroid and the left kidney.
I see.
That's why it's so important to make accurate computations. We don't dare remove too many microfarads from the heart or add too many to the kidney.
Well, we certainly don't. Might start a chain reaction and I'd just up and disintegrate.
Well, I hardly think that could happen. But it would cause trouble. Well, the 5 minutes are up. That's the first treatment.
$50 for 5 minutes. What a racket.
I beg your pardon, sir?
Oh, you'll get used to Father's little jokes, Dr. Conlon. By the way, did you make out that diagnostic report I phoned about this morning?
Why, yes, I did. It's right here on the table. I really don't see the importance of it, though. It's the cure that counts.
Well, Father has his eccentricities, you know.
Yeah, here you are.
Well, thanks.
Is it signed, Jimmy?
Diagnosis, angina pectoris and myocardial deterioration. Yes, it's signed, Dr. Gillespie.
Dr. Gillespie?
That's right. And I'm Dr. Kildare. We're both on staff with Blair Hospital.
What's the meaning of this?
And as far as you're concerned, it means you're through swindling people out of their lives and money with that phony hookup of vacuum tubes and condensers.
You can't prove anything. You're bluffing.
You think so? As you may know, Dr. Gillespie is one of the leading internists in this country. Before we came here yesterday, he was examined by 2 other top men and myself and pronounced physically fit, including his heart.
So what? You doctors make mistakes all the time with your medieval methods of diagnosis.
We'll let the public decide how medieval they are. Tomorrow morning, 3 of the city's biggest newspapers will carry a full-page feature with photostats of the diagnostic reports, including yours, cardiograms, x-rays, along with our story of the way you operate.
I'll sue you.
Ooh, is that Raymond Burr? Sure sounds like him. You remember him, Perry Mason and Fort Laramie and all those other places. From January 19th, 1951, the story of Dr. Kildare. Thank you so much for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll have the conclusion, along with another yours truly Johnny Dollar story, following these important messages from your favorite radio station. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. Now the conclusion of the story of Dr. Kildare, Dr. Conklin Quack, as it was broadcast January 19th, 1951.
I'll sue both of you in Blair Hospital for $1 million.
I don't think so, Mr. Conlon.
There's no law against a man making an honest living.
Honest living. Come on, Dr. Gillespie. I'm getting a little sick.
All right, Jimmy, all right. Hey, see you in jail, Conlon.
Oh, no, you won't. I'll beat it. Wait and see.
By the way, Mr. Conlon, I feel it's my duty to warn you that you're a very sick man.
What are you talking about?
That spot on your hand. It's a sarcoma.
What?
You'd better get the best medical attention you can find, and as soon as possible.
You're crazy. You're lying.
Think what you like. You've been told. Goodbye.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Gentlemen, I hope you're exercising due discretion in this matter.
Discretion, Guru? We've thrown it to the winds.
Dr. Gillespie.
We're referring to Conlon as a charlatan and a mountebank.
Oh, no.
Yep. A liar, a swindler, a blackguard, and a crook.
Oh, good heavens. Our legal department specifically cautioned against vilification or terms of opprobrium.
Don't worry, Dr. Carew. There'll be nothing in the story but facts, and facts that can be proved. He won't get anywhere if he does file a libel suit.
Please. I shudder to contemplate even the possibility of his filing a suit. Why, at the very thought of coming face to face with that creature,
You blanch.
Well, I certainly quail. After all,
Oh, hi, Diana.
Dr. Kildare, Dr. Conlon is here to see you.
Did you say Conlon?
Yes, Dr. Carew.
Oh.
Tell Conlon to come in, Miss Verna, and then find some smelling salts for Carew. The alpha potention of his pancreas has short-circuited across his pituitary.
Well, gentlemen, now that you've made a complete examination, are you still of the same opinion? It's still the same diagnosis?
Oh, no question about it, Conlon. It's a sarcoma.
Well, am I right in assuming it can be cured by an operation?
Surgery's out of my line. That's Kildare's field.
Yes, it can be removed by surgery, Mr. Conlon. It's not a simple operation, but done at this time, prognosis is very favorable.
Dr. Kildare, Would you be willing to perform this operation in spite of your personal feelings?
I'm a doctor, and as such, I have very clear-cut responsibilities toward my patients. Under the circumstances you mentioned, you'd be a patient. It's as simple as that. Personal feelings are out of it.
How much would it cost?
I'm on staff here. You'll have to discuss cost with the business office. However, Dr. Gillespie and I have a price of our own that you'll have to meet.
What do you mean?
I'll operate in return for your signing a complete detailed confession of your swindling activities.
You must think I'm crazy. Why, with something like that, they could probably send me up.
All right, Conlon, then I suggest you find another physician. The newspaper article will still be effective even without the confession.
I've already been to 2 other doctors today. Neither one of them would operate. They both told me to come to you.
I can have a stenographer sent up from the office if you'd care to dictate it, Mr. Conlon.
All right. I know when I'm beat. I'll have it for you later this afternoon.
Good.
At least I'll have my life.
Which is more than Mrs. Brady will. Check into the hospital at 9 o'clock in the morning.
All right, thanks. Goodbye, gentlemen.
Well, Jimmy, I guess that does it.
Yes, at least it's about all we can do. From here on, it's up to the authorities.
And the public. They're the real judge and jury.
I think I can predict their verdict in this case. It's just too bad we can't smoke all the Conlons out into the open. Oh, well, you fight it where you find it, and that's the best you can do.
And it's enough, Jimmy, it's enough. No matter how you look at it, life is pretty much a matter of struggling, fighting. And it will be so for a long time to come. That smooth, easy road to joyous living is still a figment of an electro-redonic dream. Come on, let's go to lunch.
And now, once again, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lew-ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel-Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Well, Jimmy, getting married or going to a funeral?
Neither, as a matter of fact. We've got a date with Diana, I hope. She been here yet?
No. What's the idea? To impress her with your dazzling attire? Gorgeous raiment?
Oh, not exactly, but it does feel good to change from a white coat to a black tie once in a while, as long as it's not too often.
Where are you going?
Supper at the Starlight Room. Again, I hope.
She wasn't put out with you in the first place. I know women.
Cynic.
Good evening, Dr. Gillespie. Jimmy.
Nice.
You like it?
Love it.
Me. If I were only 20 years younger. But that's life. Well, I'm going to bed. You're going out. Have a good time.
We will.
Good night. Look, sweetie, I'm awfully sorry about last night, but we got involved in that newspaper story, and, well, I'm just sorry, that's all.
Jimmy, you're a born crusader, and you'll never change.
Incurable, huh?
I'm afraid so. And you know something?
What?
I wouldn't want you to change.
All right, sweetie, then I'll make a confession.
What, Jimmy?
I couldn't change.
You have just heard the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lew-ayres and Lionel-Barrymore. This program was written by Les Crutchfield and directed by William P. Russo. Original music was composed and conducted by Walter Schumann. Supporting cast included Ted Osborne, Georgia Ellis, Ed Max, Sarah Selby, and Raymond Burr. Dick Joy speaking.
How could you not recognize Raymond Burr in that? Story of Dr. Kildare, January 19th, 1951 on Classic Radio Theater. Now on Classic Radio Theater Part 4, the 5-part yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Ricardo Amerigo Matter, from January 19th, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
You are investigate.
Hello? What'd you say? Who is this?
You are investigate Ricardo Amerigo.
Yeah, that's right. I'm investigating the Ricardo Amerigo matter. Who are you? Hello? Hey, listen, do you have some information, a tip on the case? Who are you? Hello?
Hello.
Hey, what is this, a gag?
Yeah.
Or is this supposed to be some kind of a cockeyed threat, a warning for me to get off the case?
Believe me, this is no gag.
Hello? Hello?
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. Location, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. To the Philadelphia Mutual Liability and Casualty Company. Following is an accounting of further expenses incurred during my investigation of the Ricardo Amerigo Matter. Expense account item 10, $21 even, for drinks, for me alone. And believe it or not, I'm cold sober. But the least I could do was buy one at each of the bars on the list Pete Corbin gave me. A list of all the places Ricardo Amerigo used to hang out before his disappearance in a South Jersey swamp. In spite of all the circumstantial evidence pointing his way, I still wasn't convinced Corbin had engineered an accident to kill Amerigo. Pete had also given me a list of Amerigo's closest personal friends, 3 of them. I told them I'd see them later. Meanwhile, I hoped to learn something helpful from the places where he apparently spent most of his time during his last few months on this earth. But the result can pretty much be summed up by the last bar on the list, the Hangover Club.
There you are. Cost you 80 cents.
Here, keep the change.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's just like I tell you, mister. You'd come in here, buy a few drinks, sit and drink them, leave.
Well, didn't he ever talk to anybody?
Not even me. Just sit here and get plastered till one of his friends would come in and drag him away.
Who? Did you know any of them?
Oh, sure. Willie Elliott, saxophone player at the Crystal Room.
Oh. Who else?
Jerry somebody, fiddle player.
Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah, they're on my list.
Huh?
Anybody else?
No. Oh, yeah, wait, sure.
His agent, Pete Corbin.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, if you knew that, why'd you ask me?
I've heard the same thing exactly 20 times so far today.
Yeah, well, I'll say this for him. They must have loved Amerigo. They might have fought and argued with him when they caught him in here, but it was all for one thing, to try and straighten him out. But, mister, he was too far in.
Yeah.
Yeah, shame for a talent like him, concert violinist, to hit the skids the way he'd done, but nobody couldn't seem to help.
The story had been exactly the same in every bar on the list. Apparently, the only friends, the only associates that Ricardo Amerigo had were those Pete Corbin had named. Expense account item 11, 110, cab fare to the apartment of William Elliott over on Callowell Street. Same story. No new names of friends or even acquaintances. He and Corbin and Goldsmith and the old English violin maker, Eric Snowden, had known Amerigo for years, good times and bad. Had all tried to help him, straighten him out, were deeply grieved over his death. Item 12, 570, cab to a suburb called Lanark to see Jerry Goldsmith, where I'll admit I expected to get the same story, the same names, no more, no less. This time I took the Amati violin with me.
Hi. Who are you?
I'm Johnny Dollar.
Oh, yes, you called. Come in. Friend of Pete Corbin's, you said. Sit down.
Mr. Goldsmith, I'll get right to the point. I'm an insurance investigator, and I came
That
in...
violin case. That looks like Ricardo's.
It is.
And the Amati?
Yes.
Oh, thank God.
I found it down in a South Jersey swamp where Amerigo's car plunged off the bridge. It had been lying there, hidden by the marche for several days.
Is it all right? May I see it?
Well, one reason I brought it along was so you could substantiate identification.
I make no bones about it, Mr. Dollar. I coveted this violin like nothing else in the world. I've played many fine instruments, Strads, Guarnieri, even this, my Stainer.
I see.
But Ricardo's Amati, there was something between that violin and myself that could exist for no one else. Not even Ricardo Amerigo when he was at his greatest. And when he started his terrible downfall.
You, wanted it even more, huh?
Yes, more than anything else in the world.
Enough to kill for it?
Mr. Dollar, I should kill you for even thinking such a thing. I loved Ricardo.
Okay, sorry. The fact remains somebody sawed through a steering arm on his car.
I still can't believe that. No one could have killed Ricardo, no one. Only 3 others beside myself even knew Ricardo these past few years. Corbin, Elliott, and Eric Snowden. Pity him, feed him, clothe him, try to fight him away from the liquor that had ruined his brilliant career, yes. Even hate him at times for what he'd done to his life, but murder,
I'm sorry.
May I?
Sure. It, is the Amati.
Yes. Yes, I know it as well as I know my own. May I play it?
Sure. What's the matter?
I don't know. Mr. Dollar, it isn't here. The tone, the brilliance, the response, it isn't here. Something's wrong.
You're sure this is the Amati?
Oh, of course I'm sure, but something's wrong. Something's happened to it. It isn't the same.
Well, you think the dampness of the swamp might have done...
No, you can see. It's all right, but it isn't.
Well, I don't know anything about violins.
There are no cracks, no marks, no damage. Well, even the sound post.
But you're sure it's Ricardo Amerigo's Amati?
Yes, I told you so. I couldn't possibly be mistaken. But something is... Mr. Dollar.
Well?
I don't know.
You know something? I don't either. I'm afraid I left Jerry Goldsmith rather abruptly and in a rather distressed condition. But I had plans, and the sooner I could carry them out, the better. Item 13 on expense account, $4.20 taxi fare back into town to the shop of Eric Snowden, violin maker. The only man who'd been allowed to touch Ricardo Amerigo's Amati, except, of course, for the music store owner who'd cleaned it up after I found it in the swamp. Yeah, it was possible he had done something to it that would destroy its tone. But for some reason or other, call it a hunch if you like, I hope not. Snowden's shop was located on a colorful little side street. Really not much more than an alley called Eisminger Street. Right in the middle of one of the busiest sections of the city, surrounded by skyscrapers, office stores, and all the traffic that goes with them. This one little alley. Except for Snowden's place, the tiny buildings packed side by side are all residences, left over from years gone by when this was a residential section, and still unspoiled by the bustling activity around them.
Thank you, Mr. Romandi, and I'll be sure to hear you at the Academy of Music Saturday night. Sir!
Mr. Snowden?
Yes, I'm Eric Snowden, but that violin case...
I'm Johnny Dollar. I phoned you.
Oh, please come in. Mr. Dollar.
That's right. It's Ricardo Amerigo's.
It's been found. Please let me...
Mr. Snowden, I'm an insurance investigator. Part of my job has been recovery of this violin.
It's possible loss was the most heartbreaking thing I ever contemplated, but you found it.
I think so.
You think? I don't understand.
Well, here, take it. Examine it.
Yes, but not here. Come, we'll go up to my workroom on the second floor, where I can check it thoroughly. I'll lock this front door so we won't be disturbed. Now, come with me, please. I can't believe it. It's so wonderful you found it. It would have been a terrible loss to the world.
Yeah, I guess so.
You're not a violinist yourself?
No. I'm afraid the only violin music I know is what I hear in...
Now, here we are.
Oh, quite a shop.
Most of the finest violins in the world have been here, one time or another. The Stradivarius of Yasha.
It was quite a shop.
The violins
The walls were lined with fiddles in the making and with tools. Some familiar and some that were... Wait a minute. Hacksaws. A couple of them small and delicate, but one a big one and dirty. As Eric Snowden turned away to open the violin case, I ran my fingers over the blades. There was grease on one. Axle grease.
Now here.
Well, Mr. Snowden?
Yes, Mr. Dollar. This is Ricardo Amerigo's violin.
You're certain of that?
Eh? Do you think that I, of all people, wouldn't know? Mr. Dollar, aside from Ricardo himself, I am the only person who has touched this magnificent instrument for years now. I must confess I resent your least question of my judgment.
All right, I'll be honest with you. I don't pretend to know much about violins, so I had somebody play it a while ago.
Sacrilege.
All right, be that as it may. It didn't sound to him or even to me like a $30,000 violin.
And whom did you permit to lay hands on this priceless instrument?
A friend.
Should be horsewhipped. only an artist. A great artist should be permitted to handle a thing like this. But I suppose you understand that, Mr. Dollar. I don't suppose you...
Well, go on.
Mr. Dollar, someone has tampered with this.
Oh?
Of course it doesn't sound right. Did this friend of yours presume to be a violin maker, too?
What do you mean?
The sound post, the placement of the bridge. Of course it doesn't sound right. Now, why does somebody have to...
Do you want to answer that?
No, let them wait. This is more important. No wonder you or your friend or anyone else question the validity of this instrument.
Hey, whoever that is down there, he really wants you.
Look here, a simple adjustment here and here. Oh, bother.
Go ahead, I'll wait.
All right, I shall be right back.
It was a quick suspicion when I spotted the hacksaw on the wall, and I couldn't forget the warning over the phone. While Snowden waited on his customer, I poked around the shop some more, looking for goodness knows what. And I found exactly nothing. No doubt Snowden was telling the truth. Until I started to sit down to wait for him, and as I pulled over a stool, I knocked open the door of a cabinet next to his workbench. I started to close it again, and then I saw it. Hanging there on a hook was a violin. I grabbed it out of the cabinet and held it under the light beside the one in Amerigo's case. I held them up together. It was unbelievable. The shape, the color, the markings, nicks on the little pegs you tune them up with, a spot of stain on the scroll, even a tiny, almost indiscernible scratch on the back, an old pencil mark on the inside near the label. It was impossible, but it was true. These two violins were absolutely identical.
January 19th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, contact me through social media, learn more about classic radio collecting, and you can contact me directly there, classicradio.stream. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a show. Our podcasts are available anywhere on the internet, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, the Audible app from Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank this station, support their advertisers, tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite radio station.